Hello, mate.
Hello, mate.
Right.
Good to be back.
Yeah, number 2. So we've got today
season.
I'm just going to call it autumn.
Episode 2.
Episode 2. So today is Dan.
Double Dan.
Double Dan. Double D.
Double Dan Day.
So I have never met Dan Watts before. I'm sure you haven't either.
I don't think I have, no.
But all
we might have been on a call.
Maybe. I don't. He's a lovely chap. He's worked at some amazing places. He's done lots of really interesting work. Yeah, I think it's going to be great. Dan Watts from Pablo.
Looking forward to that.
So, do you want to go and get him or
shall I go?
You go, I'll wait here.
Okay. Get the flapjacks out.
All right, mate. Rustle. Dan Watts.
Like.
Ruin his flow straight away. Yeah. We love that.
Say what? That's good.
That's not getting edited out.
Right.
Just breaking in.
My long running joke when we were doing this in lockdown was pretending I was on mute and just moving my mouth. And he was like, Dan, you're on mute. Dan, you're on mute. And I was like, every fucking time. Every time.
Do you know what? 77 episodes and no one's... I'm so freaked out. Anyway, Dan Watts, Executive Creative Director at Pablo London. Welcome to Behind the Billboard.
Thanks for having me.
So we know you're super busy. You're pitching like crazy. Pablo, you're taking them to greater heights as ever. It's a great thing you're doing there. So we know you're busy. So thank you very much for coming up.
Yeah, thanks for finding the time.
No problem.
That's good. So we're going to do that usual thing where we slightly embarrass you and say great things about you.
Dan facts.
Oh, no.
Dan facts.
Dan facts.
Okay.
we have to make a jingle.
Yeah, we do. And we have to try and throw one in that's not true and work out.
Yeah. Well,
the listeners can work out which one is not true.
These are all very, like all great creatives. Dan studied at Watford College.
Did, yeah.
Yeah, that's a fact. Dan has presided over work that has won at every major award show in the world. Dan has helped launch a record label for a chocolate brand. So that could be a lie, but it's not, and it's brilliant.
We're going to find out more about that.
Yeah, and then even more audaciously, this is really fun. And I know this isn't really about billboards, but you had the temerity to help convince the British public it was okay to watch the Great British Bake Off on edgy Channel 4 instead of cozy BBC, which
don't say it.
Is very good.
Oh,
sorry. And we've got flapjacks here. So if you want a flapjack, you're more than welcome. Dan gets funny about, when you have a break in proceedings when I'm talking endlessly.
John, who does the editing, Silent John. Hi, Silent John.
Hi, John.
He hates it when we've got a mouthful of flapjack and we're going...
I get very self-conscious.
So we have to ask, how are you? What's going on in your world at the moment?
Really good. Thanks for the intro. I hope my funeral's as good as that.
Maybe they'll just play this intro section when you're
save
gone.
that and send it to my sister. It's been really good. It's been, as I said, very, very busy year. I think the agency's feeling really exciting at the moment. I feel like we're just getting going. We've got still a lot to do, a lot coming out into the new year. But, having fun.
Yeah, that's
having
good.
Fun getting back to kind of, what I think why I started this job, getting back to simplicity and just entertaining and trying to vary the kind of brands and the tones that we do. And
because Pablo's really getting quite big now, isn't it?
It's probably about 90 people.
Wow. That's quite a bit.
Yeah, we kind of doubled our creative department during lockdown, which was weird because everyone kind of battened down the hatches and we kind of did the opposite. I think we just kind of used that time to get ahead of ourselves and really go for it. And yeah.
You said you're moving office as well because you're in Old Street at the moment, is that right?
Yeah, we're in Old Street at the moment. We had an office in Holywell Row near where we are now, just up to COVID.
Yeah.
And we gave that to shelter the premises during lockdown. We kind of just went fully remote.
Brilliant.
And we've kind of used this time to work out how we want to work and kind of seeing out there where it's going. We didn't want to presume anything over the next kind of 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And kind of just use that time to just see what we're going to be as a kind of entity. What's going to be working with the remote versus not, and what is, and how do people feel, and 5 years later we've kind of got a rough idea of how that's going to work, and we've got the new space.
And do you
to use that.
what others Because we spoke to Jexa yesterday, and he had they do 3 in, 2 out. What do you do down at the moment?
Yeah,
3 in, 2.
And actually, the production team, we've got them doing week A, week B. So they do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, week A, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, week B. So then there's a longer period of time together. Wednesday's an all-in day where the entire agency is in.
It's kind of how we're doing at the moment. We have Wednesdays and Thursdays where people mostly come in, and then the other days around that are quite flexible.
And the wider business is basically doing what a lot of people are doing, which everyone's calling twats. Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays.
When I was at Neverland, I was at Neverland for a bit, and 5 full days.
5 full days.
No fucking questions.
I was with the ex-production director of Grand Visual the other day, and she said that Amazon, she works at Amazon now, they're going back to 5 days from January.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, I think
happened for some companies.
Neverland did ask their employees. It's very democratic.
Yeah, that's good.
Like you talked about, Dan. It's sort of like it's different strokes, different.
Yeah, it is. I think everyone's got to work out with their, with their employees and people like what's best for everybody.
And it's the culture of your company. It's not the same, is it? It's not the same for everyone. It's not the same for your clients. It's different for everyone. I think you got to do what's right for your business.
It's good when you do get together, and I think we sort out a lot of things very quickly. Every department's slightly different how it does that, and it's been good. It's been working well so far.
That's good. Our first regular section, as you know, is the billboard at the end of my street.
Yeah, I had to walk quite far. My street's quite long to find something.
We had a previous guest who had to get 3 buses and a train to try and find them.
I didn't have to go that far. I had to walk like 5 minutes.
A walk across the countryside.
I shouldn't be so lazy, really.
I thought you were going to say I've got such a long drive.
No,
I have to.
Did you go further to find a good one, or
no? I didn't. You know what?
Was this actually
it's really hard, isn't it? Because you go, don't pick that one, because I'm going to get judged on thinking that's good. The next one you go, don't pick that one either. So I just picked the first one I saw.
Please tell us, because I've got something to add to this.
Okay. So I didn't really look at this. I just took a photo of it and got home. And literally because he said the first billboard at the end of your street. When I got home, I looked at it and I didn't really understand what was going on. So zooming in on my camera, and I've brightened it up a bit. You've got the word hide there that's hidden. I didn't see that at all, and I read
in real life when you were there.
Oh yeah. And when I looked at it on my phone, I thought it said you didn't at the back of your spin class, and I thought, what, you didn't fart? What didn't you do? And then once you're trying to work out what it means,
what is it? Is it yogurt? Is it yogurt?
So let's say what it is because our listeners.
Oh yeah,
can't see this.
sorry.
Yeah.
Is it yogurt?
It's the headline. Yogurt. Yeah, it's for
Hugh loves a yogurt ad.
It's Nestlé Kvarg. I guess it's some kind of high protein sort of quark yogurt. And the headline says, although it's quite hard to decipher the hide bit, it says, "You didn't hide at the back of your spin class. Good move."
Okay, so I've got to say here, so I'm the general public when I'm out there.
I need to get up and have a look at this. I can't see the hidden work.
It's worth it.
There's a whole campaign of them.
Quite as far as I did.
There's a campaign of them. So we saw another one.
There is, yeah.
And I saw it and I said to my missus, what does that mean? Because I'm trying to we're in a world of communication, quick communication, 3 or 5 seconds. So I still don't get it now. I'm sitting here in a room analysing. Do you?
No.
You didn't hide that terrible typographical idea at the back of your spin class.
Good move.
Good move.
Good move.
So I'm guessing it means you did something proactive and you got out there and you showed them at your spin class, and that's a good move.
And is that because you had the yogurt?
Maybe.
I hope yogurt's involved.
We're making the jump.
It'd be nice if it was involved.
But maybe they should have just done a whole campaign on Kvarg.
What is it for a start?
Kvarg. It's a yogurt. That's better than that.
I mean, it's got somebody on a bike on the pack, and it says high protein, so it's obviously aimed at people that like it.
You said that you weren't going to take a picture of this one, and then you found another one that was worse, and then there was another one. Yeah,
there were a few other billboards, but they were just more really generic.
But the trouble,
so the reason that we use this as a way in to talk about the stuff that you see around.
Out and about.
And I know we talked in the kitchen over coffee just now about the state of our industry, and that you end up looking at the classics and looking backwards 10 plus years to look at some great out of home. Are you seeing any good stuff out there now?
I do actually think there have been some last year and a half. There's been some really good getting back to posters. I think for a long time, posters have always been seen as this kind of old school media. And you see now that it's like quite often in the past you've got briefs and posters are right at the bottom of the deliverables list. And it's almost like, oh yeah, we also need some posters. Whereas actually posters are when I was at Channel 4, I think it's, even for young people, the most recognised media out of everything. They're everywhere. Unlike every other bit of media now, you can't block them, you can't get rid of them. They're there. You're waiting at the bus, you look at it.
Yeah.
So make them really good.
Yeah.
And I think the thing with posters is, going to go off on a tangent here, I think we talked about Watford. I don't think young people coming to this have taught how to do ideas. I think it all becomes very executional. You can kind of hide behind digital and long formats and coming up with the idea and the insight and the simple thing without seeing any executions is really difficult.
Yeah.
Watford was brilliant at teaching you that.
Yeah.
And the hardest way to get that out is through a poster.
There are other colleges available, by the way.
There are, yeah, and there's some really good ones.
Yeah.
But it's just an observation. I think
But it's that.
Have either of you been back to Watford since? And
no, well, it actually sadly isn't there anymore because it lives inside BBH now. It's the
barn.
Oh, yeah.
And Tony sadly passed away. But I think outside of Watford, even at BBH where we started was, okay, you'd go in and go, well, this is my idea. And you'd say it and you go, just put it on a poster, mate.
But do you think that's the opportunity for us old, decrepit, creative people?
Speak for yourself, mate.
Oh, mate. I got 10 years on you.
I know. I mean, literally speak for yourself.
I mean, it's very rare you see somebody present an idea, a brand idea, as a poster first.
Yeah.
And I think if you can do it as a poster, you're kind of set because you're whittling everything down to its most simplistic form.
Well,
but it's really hard.
But I wonder if that's something that us at Behind the Billboard should take on, Hugh. We should do some sort of education program, work into some of the colleges in London and start doing some live briefs for posters to get people doing it. Because if it's not going to be part of the curriculum...
Masterclass coming up.
Masterclass.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well, they just become... They're a bit of an afterthought quite often.
Yeah.
So let's do the big sexy thing. We'll just get the end line and the thing.
What does the Instagram post say? That's what?
Yeah.
Well, funny enough, but I always, whenever I'm doing a deck, I get one of the blank billboards and my very shit Google Slides way, kind of try and drag something onto it and go, okay, does that make sense? Whereas you're right, it's where your brain goes. Whereas our kids, great, we'll go here. Go, well, what's he going to say on there? Which already is slightly...
He's holding up his phone, by the way.
Holding up my phone.
Audio.
But it is relevant and it's very important. But Belford said things like, if you have a banner or an MPU or something on here, it's still a form of... It's a poster.
Well, it's really interesting now that posters are almost like the brief is get it on... Will it get shared, that poster? Mm-hmm. And you see it. I saw some kids in Camden... when I was driving the other weekend, taking a photo of a KFC poster. So it's not like it's like anything. It was good. It will interest people.
Yeah.
And it's the same with a lot of there's been brilliant posters from a variety of agencies over the last year, and they all get. We talked about LinkedIn, part LinkedIn, but shared because they're really good, and it's just like anything. Some
of the participation ones as well. We talked to Andy Jacks last week, as I said, and. They with the Jaffa Cakes thing that they launched, there was a it was a kind of big poster for Jaffa Cakes saying "Stand here if you think it's a cake." Stand here if you're an idiot.
Yeah.
And so you can imagine lots of people taking pictures of that where people are stood in the idiot section. And that gets shared. So there's some smart ways to do it to get that interaction.
You've got an idea there that you use the media to.
Yeah, I think we always talk about the amplification of social media. If you do a good poster, it will get photographed and shared.
It will, yeah.
And even if you're savvy, you go, well, I'll put a poster up here and I'll take a photo of it and I'll give it to our social team and off it goes. Because it's so naive in the extreme to think everyone in Britain is going to see your poster. Anyway, look, we're going to move on.
Yeah, great.
Your first ever billboard, do you remember?
Yeah, so I had to really...
poster, billboard.
Yeah.
I say there's the two absolute belters, two of my favourites.
So I can't take credit for, again, we're talking about the idea just now. This is not Rory, my first partner, and this was an idea that was very much Dave Dye and Sean Doyle. So this was when we'd left Watford we'd gone to 180 Amsterdam for a year, and we'd come back to join Dave Dye and Walter Campbell and Sean Doyle's agency, Campbell Dye, which doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And this was one of their kind of quite famous campains there.
Yeah, Adnams.
Adnams beer from the coast.
Beer from the coast, yeah.
And Dave had done loads of them.
What a surprise.
And it was just a really good learning. It was like, what else can you do? Like,
Right.
And he'd covered every possible base.
They were like postcards from the seaside, weren't
Yeah,
they? It was like-
and they were everything from like kind of bottled tops in rocks to everything in between. And we just used to spend hours and hours just writing ads and just trying to get something you'd go, yeah, that's good. Or something that was good, but kind of done it all good, but it's not good enough. And like hundreds. And quite fun. It's quite funny looking at this now, because this is almost like the first thought.
Right.
It's just a big pint glass amongst cliffside. But it was just something that hadn't been done.
It's really nice. It's really nice because I actually had these framed in my house. I went for the weekend once and I saw them in a shop and I went, oh, those are cool. And I framed them at home, but way before we'd done this and knew Dave.
And you did you know they were adverts?
I knew their adverts, but they were just so, like you said, they're so beautiful and subtle. You'd go, all right, I wouldn't normally frame an advert at my house, but I thought it was because it's a good memory of a good, but this is really lovely. Like it's so sweet, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone has a chance to go on Dave Dye's blog, I think he did a whole thing on Adnams. It was really good, taking you through his.
We go on Dave Dye's blog all the time because it's where we get most of our research from.
we had one more that nearly ran. He also liked, which he hadn't thought of, which was good for us but bad for us because it didn't run. Which was at night, and no one had done anything at night. And we made the moon reflect itself in the water, but it was a bottle top.
No.
Oh, nice.
He didn't quite got it illustrated. And then he said, like 22 years later in his blog, it's like, what we should have done is make it C flat, and then it would have worked. Like, could have told us that 20 years ago. Could have got another ad out. But
Brilliant. Okay. And then you also cheekily put another very nice campaign in.
Yeah.
Ben and Jerry's.
So this, after, it's quite tricky finding posters, actually looking through all the work from the early years. Did a lot of print, a lot of kind of film and press. But this was one of the first briefs we had at Fallon.
Yeah.
And it was Ben and Jerry's. And we'd done a couple of nice ads around the history of Ben and Jerry's in 30 seconds.
Right.
And this was just some more posters around it. Like, I think it might have been Rob and Andy. I think Andy Alvarez had done some really lovely similar stuff.
Yeah.
And got the tone going a year or so before a different campaign. Yeah, they're kind of fun. They're kind of simple. It's just one of those.
So the one on the left says 3 C's, cherries, chocolates,
chunks.
So
Cherry Garcia.
as a player on the your 5 days, 3 days.
Yeah, just remember your 3 C's, and it was
yeah.
just that. It used to be. It was same with Cadbury,
Right.
where the brief was just before they got bought by Unilever or Mondelez. The brief used to just be. I remember Rich Fintham saying, "It's just ice cream. Don't overthink it."
Right.
Flavour.
Make it fun. Make it kind of silly.
Yeah.
And it was a really fun account to work on because it was just.
It looks fun. I mean,
The banana one I love.
So the banana one says chunky monkey, and then chocolate.
It's walnuts for crunchies, bananas for monkeys, chocolate for chunkies, chunky monkey.
And
it's a banana. I mean, it's not groundbreaking, but it was.
That's great. It looks brilliant.
It was just simple,
nice.
Did you give it to
simple and fun to work?
a designery person down the corridor?
Yeah, we had we had I can't remember the design name at the time. It was
We'll come back to
long
it.
time ago. We had Matt Kitchen, who's the editor who worked in Fallon, made the ads, the TV ads, which was really fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was.
I've got to say those are 2 outstanding firsts, and also it shows how young Dan is, that he's got them, and they're legit. And some people go, oh, well, unless their first billboards are a bit shit, they go, oh, I can't find it, or
It's like a knackered old Polaroid photo.
Yeah, it is. Well, none of it's on the internet beyond a certain amount of time. But
right. So we're going to jump in.
Yeah.
And apologies if we rush along
No,
in
it's
case
fine.
we want to indulge things more.
Yeah, no, go.
Dan does the international signal of hurry up, which is
Oh.
fucking amazing.
Speed up my voice.
Starting at Fallon, so I have to say, I feel like I normally have an encyclopedic knowledge of work. I've never seen this work before,
Okay.
which is really exciting, and it looks fucking great. So it's for Sony Reader,
Yes.
and it says book on an ad, and I imagine it's book on a poster or book on a piece of print. So
yes,
honestly, fuck it, is it? Is that a book?
Yeah, it is. So like, probably one of the reasons you haven't seen it is they pulled it when it ran. So we got it out, I think, print once because it had gone to print, and we had to pay to get some posters made, like because we were good like that. We found ways to get stuff out.
Yeah.
It's. I don't even know if they still exist.
What was it like? It was really like a pre-Kindle.
It was pre-Kindle, and it was like really revolutionary at the time. And everyone thought it was the future of readings. It's kind of before the iPhone really took off. And we just said, again, being in that agency of going, what's going to a really creative way of doing this on? Is it possible to get a book that you can read on a DPS and on a poster? Because on a poster it's easier to read, but it still looks cool.
So how much can I ask? Because I have just obviously written a book myself, so I'm very interested in a few things.
Have you?
Yeah, I wrote a novel.
You should have said.
Oh yeah. Oh sorry, I didn't look up. I thought that was Dan Watts saying that. Fuck off.
No, I've not got.
It's brilliant, by the way. If you haven't read it, you should read it. I read it on holiday. It's very good.
So definitely read it.
How many words is that?
I couldn't tell you how many words it is. I can tell you it's exactly the entire book, all three of them.
And were the book, because this is so sort of minutiae interesting for me, who copy checked it?
We're going back so long.
Because someone somewhere, either with you
did,
or them, or they must have sent you.
Yeah, we did. My memories are quite sketchy. I remember we tried it, and Mark Elwood used to run studios, so we had a really good studio team helping us on this. And we tried loads of pages.
Okay, like individual.
Didn't quite work, and it got a bit illegible. We definitely checked it all.
Why did they pull it?
Yeah,
because a new head of marketing at Sony came in, literally when it was printing, came in and saw it and went, I'm changing the brief completely. We think this is the future of reading, and we want it to be more explanatory of what it actually does.
I love it.
It wasn't the future of reading.
I love it because
it got ruined by the Kindle.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the way it looks. Primarily, I'm intrigued. That's the first thing of advertising that stops someone, and then I'm leaning in. I'm going, I see what I did there, and then I would probably. I'd probably read you'd read the first bit, and then I'd be interested to know how it ends.
Yes. Well, the ending was quite interesting because we hadn't done that initially. We'd put the whole book on. We always wanted to make it look visually really interesting, even if you didn't bother reading it. I can't remember how we ended it before. I think that was, again, Rich, why he was so brilliant. It gave us that little nudge of why don't you make, because I think we just had the reader on as a little logo. Why don't you make the last bit run into the screen?
Yeah, perfect. Brilliant, isn't it?
And then we can make the line.
It's perfect.
180 books in one. So it was just a really nice.
And were the books short stories or novellas? They can't have been.
Yeah, they weren't like massive. Alice in Wonderland, you always think's quite long. It's not actually quite as long as you think, but it feels long. I think that's what we tried to. Books where in your head they're quite long.
Yeah, because there's one called The Old Man and the Sea, like Hemingway, which is like relatively short, isn't it? And there's The Pigeon, and there's all those ones where you go, fuck, great book. That was it Grief Has this thing with feathers? They're all great books, but they're all tiny.
They're tiny. So it was exactly that. Finding books that people knew, but also that weren't too short but not too long.
Yeah,
you wanted it to make sure that it looks.
That's a genius touch. That in a way that's what the product is doing, isn't it?
Yes.
And so we'll give Richard Flinterman a little bit of a.
You can give him. You're giving me a flashback to one of the very first posters that I worked on, which was for Motorola.
Yeah.
And Motorola
is going back.
Yeah, so Motorola were involved in all of the communications for the lunar mission that landed on the moon, first man on the moon. And so we had all of the correspondence between the shuttle and the and ground.
That's cool.
And we had all of that detailed by time and date, and it was the entire thing was the poster was typography of that, and then it was just one red line, one small step for man.
That's good.
That's so good.
And the Motorola logo on it, and their whole thing at the time was we need to let everyone know that we've been around a long time, we know how to do communications.
Yeah, that's great.
But it wasn't for a handset or anything. It was just that. It was
who was the agency? Can you remember?
That was MEI, that was directly for Motorola for one of their big.
Right.
GSM conferences and
Respect,
around
yeah.
Shanghai. Yeah.
That's great.
Okay, we're going to go on to. So I had to sort of reread this. Dan's launched a record label, Dan Watts. So it's called Glass and a Half Records. Again, it's brilliant because I think I was aware of this, right?
Yeah.
But then I wasn't sure. But then I did a little rooting around, and then I was thinking, oh right, so they must have done Gorilla and something. And then you did it right. Tell us what happened.
I'm going to give you another rich story. And Chris and John, who were the creative directors, with us on this.
Chris Bovril and John.
Chris Bover and John Allison,
John
who now work at Pablo.
Yeah.
And we got this brief. Obviously, can't take any credit for Gorilla, but it got the Glass and Half Productions thing going, and we got a brief to go for a print ad at the time, and it was just we just got told
You asked us for a print ad.
Yeah, did we? It was a print ad to tell everyone we've gone fair trade. And how do you do that?
Fair enough.
And we spent ages writing funny, and we had I remember Rich coming and going, "No, don't do a print ad. Let's just set up a record label. Let's go Glass and Half Glass and Half Productions record label, Glass and Half Records."
Right.
And because we'd written loads of things, it was one of those really big, brilliant kind of brainstorming review sessions.
Yeah.
And going, and long story short, we went, well, let's just go to Ghana, where they're doing fair trade. Let's take their number one hip lifestyle. That's what they have out there. It's called Hip Life. I'm pretty sure it's called Hip.
Right.
And he's called Sexy Tinny, and he was massive over there.
Fucking hell.
And we'll just get him to make a single, and we'll get it properly produced. We'll help, with the money side of things. And we got Ringen on board with the film. We'll make a big music video for it.
Yeah, yeah.
And we'll get the people in the Ghanaian communities around the where they're making all the beans for fair trade. Get them involved. They can build it. We'll get them to do the posters, and we'll just leave it over to them, and we'll just do this thing. So the film was mad. I really loved it. The track was really good, and it was really insane. Like we surprised him when he came out in the video shows my age. He comes out. Yeah. And that surprise everyone in the village sees when he comes out was
because he's a superstar.
He was a superstar, and
he was on the roof, wasn't he? Dancing on the roof. Yeah,
and Ringen was amazing on it. And the posters were we just hired local artists to do what they want. Gave them a kind of brief.
Can I say so?
They just did it.
I never thought we'd say this, but this is our Ghanaian Billboard special.
Yeah.
So
never had Ghanaian posters.
I mean, they painted them all in Ghana. And
brilliant.
And then they were photographed.
Yeah, we photographed and we turned them as billboards over here. Fantastic. And they set up over there. And it was just
it's just a brilliant golden period of work, isn't it? Around chocolate.
It was just like you had a feeling as a creative you could do anything then.
You clearly did. I mean, that is a brilliant story.
It's not hard work.
I watched I watched the video last night, and it was like right out there, and there was someone I don't know how I found this on some blog, and someone said, I wonder what the people are on who are making this work at because it's a bit hallucinogenic. And it was one of them serious blog, like, what's going on? What who thought of this?
There was logic behind it, because we spent a lot of time in Ghana. We met the village chief. Yeah. And he was quite funny. Like, he was really serious. He's really big, and he was doing really funny. He's making funny kind of facial expressions to the kids, and he's quite playful. Even what it says. And it was like we should just design this kind of big monolith around him, but again give it out to them to design it and make it. So it was kind of like the chief of the village, kind of in kind of musical form. And there's a lot of just things we were observing, we're just trying to pull in, make something a bit mad, because it had to be. Glass and Half had to be quite.
So that
the authenticity for it to be a home brewed thing, in the market where fair trade chocolate is created.
It's very Fallon. It's very rich, and Andy, isn't it? It's of the time, and it's very truthful. Isn't it?
Well, on that, we didn't quite pull it off insofar as, and I don't say this because I think it's like amazing. But it was a bit ahead of its time insofar as I don't think the client really could get their head around. What we wanted to do is like, we're not going to do ads. We're going to make a single. We're going to do a promo. We're going to get this single out, raise money for this, and this promo is going to do this. And our ads are just going to be ads for the promo and the single.
Yeah.
That's how it's all going to work. The reality was, no, your ads have to be ads. Yeah. So then you end up having to try and cut this and into adverts, and then people got really confused what it was.
In the new connected world, this would have been it would have been Spotify, it would have been get it on the playlist for radios, it would have been all of that stuff, wouldn't it?
It was trying to use...
It's your fault for being ahead of the curve.
Well, I can't take the credit for that. I mean, we were just, at the time, happy to make anything.
Oh, no, but it is.
Anything for Glass and Half. It was such an exciting project to work on.
Yeah, honestly, it was a real pleasure talking about it and looking at it. We're going to move away from Fallon, and we're going to go... So we're going to basically go... You spent a bit of time at the ANDA partnership, but we're only going to sort of focus a bit on the work, so nothing against them or whatever the work was, but we're going to go... to Channel 4 Creative, which must have been really, really exciting. It's one of the places I'd love to have worked, but I love everything that comes out there. You know, Channel 4 is like part of our culture, the edgy one. But we're focusing a bit on the Great British Bake Off, and it's not... wasn't a huge amount of billboards, so excuse us, listeners, going off piece a bit, but... I've watched the film that you made, and it was must have been a really tough thing, because it's like the whole country's going, what? It's going from the BBC. Did you feel the weight of the nation?
Do you know what we felt the weight of with that project was a little bit of that, but we were quite excited because how are we going to do this? It's very BBC in a really Channel 4 way.
Yeah.
But we were also, it was 2016, and we just had Brexit. Trump had just got in.
Right.
Everyone was it was mad. Everyone was really divided. And we're going, how do we use Bake Off as a bit of a veiled Channel 4 remit brief to get a kind of message out there about what's going on and that we're for. And then also, how do we do something really entertaining that's Bake Off at the same time?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a two-way thing. And obviously there's I think the pressure more was, don't make it BBC, make it Bake Off enough that people will, that like the show. Do
you then put swear words in on nudity, and then that get you over the line?
Well, actually, we started off with the brief of like you would do with any creative brief. What's the idea behind? We've got to launch something. It's Channel 4. What's the idea behind it? Yeah. Well, isn't it quite interesting? We're in a really divided world. One thing actually everyone agrees on is baking. Like everyone loves baking. Like everyone watches Bake Off.
Hugh's pushing his flat
I know you're talking.
And so you go, there's something really interesting in that. We can make quite a serious point, but in a fun way. I think we started off with, we had this idea of what's the meaning of loaf? And it was, it didn't work in the time we had, but it was a little bread roll that was trying to find its way in the world and felt really isolated, but met other weird and wonderful bits of bread, and then realised that they all had something in common. And we used the Monty Python song "Meaning of Life." Right. So it's just asking what's the meaning of life.
That's so good. I mean, surely that's a great campaign for butter or something. You can have this little. I don't know.
Because we only had a 60-second slot, it just didn't work. So then we ended up going. What if we just kind of went the other way around and went, what if we just bake an ad, but live, and do something like where we're animating with baking?
Yes.
Like what's the headlineable PR thing of the execution? And then, long story short, I've always wanted to get Frog Song on a thing, and the good thing about 4 is you don't have to kind of pay for.
So that's the song. It's a Paul McCartney song.
Yeah, yes.
The Frog.
Yeah, so we took the Frog Song. It all became around the houses. So we took the Frog Song. We all stand together. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
And the collateral we have behind it because it's a bit cheesy.
Yeah.
And we'll animate an ad of just Cake singing that, and within it we'll get this thread going of diversity and inclusion and all these different things, but coming together at the end to go.
So, in that, sorry to interrupt, but because I'm really fascinated by obviously creativity and the order of things, and someone, quite often you say, well, just start with a song. I mean, 9 times out of 10 that doesn't work like that, but that sounds like it sort of did a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it did when it got to thinking about how let's have a rethink. We had the kind of strategic idea set, and we were just thinking of ways of executing it, and we ended up kind of maybe the meaning of life got a bit too complicated, and just going, well, we just took that song and just did that, and we bake it for real, and we show that we're baking it for real, and we do a bit of a first. And what was great, we met the usual suspects from Aardman to everyone in between, and we went with Blink and these guys called Parabella, who'd never really done anything like big, and because of that, they didn't really know what they couldn't do. We had a lot of people going, well, you can't do that because it's not going to work. And they were just like, and we're like, let's just take a risk with these guys. They really want it, and we'll just go. Didn't know that. For some reason, I thought Dougal shot it, but Dougal shot the idents. He did the idents that we did pretty much. I think we were doing them simultaneously. Those are great as well. The ones that you were working on was the 4 logo turns into the man. Yeah, it was the big giant. Big giant. Yeah, and I love the idents that they've done recently. That brief was a bit of a weird one, the idents brief then, because we need to remind people what channel they're watching, because everyone's remembering shows nowadays, but they don't remember what channel it's on. Right. We have to remind people, weirdly, you're on 4, and this is why you're on. This is why 4 exists. So it's very much about
the branding exercise. The 4 things we stand for. 4 nations and regions that we hold up. And just a reminder, really simply of that. Did you by any chance work on this thing as well?
No, I didn't work on. I think that was maybe a couple of years after.
It was, I think maybe in the second or third series, as it had come over to Channel 4, they did a big special building where they'd wrap the whole thing to look like a massive cake, and underneath it was a big special fork with a bit of the cake on it.
No, the build with this, we again doing it for real. We made and baked all the typography, and
it's nice.
It was a really fun one to work on. But
the line's good as well, right? It's just perfect.
Bake on as a place. Yeah, we had a nice line also on the film that they made us take it off, which I thought really helped it, which was it's all going to be all right. Bake Off's back. Right. Yeah. And again, it was just nudging us like everyone's.
People were up in arms that the BBC had lost it back then, weren't they?
Yeah, it was.
I do remember at the time going, how's that going to work? And then it does, but it is kudos to the program makers as well as the the advertisers too.
They were great.
What we do know is that Mary Berry could never have got away with saying "what a nice beaver" on BBC, which was one of my favourite quotes from Bake Off over the years.
It was done. Right? The show's been great, done really well for them, hasn't it?
Right. Okay.
Yeah, sponsorship wise, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Dan, I'm going to pass over to Dan Dawson.
So
ask about this one.
Yeah, and
actually gone to Pablo, right?
On to Pablo, yeah.
Via Crispin Porter, is that right?
Yeah, for a brief stint, and then freelance for a bit, and then last 5 years been at Pablo.
And then so we're talking about Flora, Skip the Cow for him.
Yeah.
So we jump onto that slide. Tell us about how the brief came to you first before we get to the execution.
Yeah, so now we're getting just somebody clear, ECDing all of this work.
Yeah.
So, we're going to talk about some other billboards as well,
Yeah. There are teams of people beneath you.
All this work we're going through.
And we spoke about this last week as well. Happily put all of the credits on here.
Yeah, great.
For all of the people, because it's important to credit the right people on this work.
100%.
But I think as ECD, you're allowed.
Oh yeah, I can talk to you about.
I think that's okay.
Yeah, the agency brief and what we've been doing with it. I mean, this was a really. It started off quite small, and it was, Flora plant. We want to be the successor to butter in the long run. We want to do it in a way that is really going to get talked about, going to be really spiky, have a point of view. I think that's the big thing.
They wanted to be a challenger brand, even though it's Flora and they're massive, right?
Don't worry about showing things melting on food and headlines about taste. We just want what's our point of view, and to be a successor to butter. So,
and that all comes across in the brief from them to you guys.
Yeah, it was very clear, and Gareth had a lot of one-on-ones with them, and really clear what we wanted and what the tone and what the type of work was going to be. Mm-hmm. And I've just picked this out because it's very billboard heavy.
It's brilliant.
We're doing some film, quite exciting stuff in the coming months. We've done a couple of bits of film of this early stuff as well, but really it was a print and poster campaign.
Yeah.
So to our chat earlier, it's been really nice to start working on briefs and clients that really see the value in simplicity and idea within a post.
Poster, yeah.
And this was one of the first ones that just does the idea really simply. Plant going through a cow, coming out cow butter, plant straight to cow, skip the cow, and I love the almost naivety of it. It's just
Where did skip the cow? Was that a planner, a client, a creative? I'm always interested.
So we had Joan, our planner, who still works on this. He worked really closely with Ollie, the creative.
Ollie Beale.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Ollie wrote the line off a very clear brief. And they worked very, obviously we had me and Gareth involved throughout the process, but they're very clear. And we one of the things I love about the agency is how closely planning and creative work together. It's almost planning's like it's an arm of creative. It's not like some places perhaps in the past, planning's over here, creative's over here.
No, I need to be right next to a planner.
Yeah,
need some help.
And
got any headlines?
Yeah, and constantly working together, and it's great.
And was Dave Dye involved?
Yeah, Dave worked initially on the art direction to get the art direction going. And again, like I remember Dave always saying, simple is really easy, really hard. So looking at what he did, just putting the pack like that and the line there.
Okay, so
ages doing it. And he goes,
so why is the pack? I'm sure if there's a really obvious reason, I'm not getting it. Why is the pack tilted? Is it balanced?
You'd have to ask Dave the logic behind that. I'm very rudimentary, going, that looks good and that works, and it houses the line properly.
No, I like it.
Gives it a bit of movement. Obviously, you have to show the product by ripping a bit off. When it's flat, it looked quite. Yeah. It looked a bit literally flat. And
was the overall approach, like you say, have a point of view, make it kind of feel a bit DIY, a bit like basic. Don't make it polished, because nothing about this is polished. I mean, in a executional way, it's brilliantly put together. It
feels diagrammatic. It feels like
it's almost like the dirt. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
This idea of,
but that's also the idea, right?
Yeah, the idea of isn't it weird when you think about it that you put plants through a cow's digestive system and through all its innards to come out and make something that you could do just without that?
Yeah,
that's really weird.
But also, what's interesting?
So it's almost like,
I remember when we had Michael Leon from Oatly, when we were talking about this type of their advertising, and their first line was like cow's milk, but for humans, right? So there was it's that simplicity that you go. You don't have to. It doesn't have to go through the cow for it to be.
Why
on
do
your
you do that?
toast.
So obvious.
Yeah,
when you think about it,
Yeah. But I imagine at one stage on a brief, it might have been really complicated. And then when you just go skip the cow, it's like, there you go.
Yeah.
It's 3 words, and it's a great, it just gives and gives, doesn't it? There's such
what's this one? Farewell, cow butter, and thanks for the memories.
And then the special bit where the cow is sort of working out the math of the butter.
Yeah, that kind of came out around the time. There's quite a lot. Funnily enough, it didn't actually clock it, but around kind of girl maths that was on Instagram, things like that. We just really like, again, the tone of butter maths. It's really simple. It's like plant plus a cow is weird, plant plus a plant not weird. And just having a cow like a teacher pointing out. Just a bit of fun for a special build.
Did someone somewhere go, you can't say too much about against buttery stuff? Because we're Flora master.
We're very conscious. We never slag off butter,
right?
And we're not slagging off. It's just to go.
You didn't get a letter from the dairy industry saying
no. We never gone against. Although there's the odd cow in it, we've never gone against the dairy industry or how they treat cows or saving cows, and we've never gone against like butter is bad and you shouldn't be using it. It's just going
skip the cow,
plant butter because you don't have to go through a cow. Yeah, don't want to because it is a bit weird when you think about it. We're not going butter is weird. We're going through a cow when you don't need to is weird. So just being really careful that we keep to that idea.
There's another one. No teats, no udders, no brainer. Skip the cow. It's that thing. Once you're in that world, you're up and running. It's great, right?
Yeah.
But it's that thing, isn't it? I remember Hegarty saying to me something about the hardest thing is to say to write. Australians wouldn't give a 4X for anything else. Once that's done, then other people can do. Oh yeah, I've got.
You can rip. It's like music. If you're jamming with music, someone lays down the first piece and everyone can riff on that.
Like we said at the beginning, that's the hard bit.
Yeah,
it's what sort of we're all paid for. Isn't it? I know the other bits. You need to have the craft.
And so, is that what came first? Skip the Cow came first, then.
Yeah,
and then everything was riffing from that. Really.
Yeah.
And
it's really nice.
We have asked Ollie Beale on. I saw him at a drinks do not long ago, about a year and a half. Actually, when Tony was still alive, sadly, and it was Tony's birthday, and Ollie was there in his massive coat and his beard, and I was going, "Come on!" and he's going, "No, no, actively no."
And now you're calling him out on air.
Yeah.
So you're saying, Ollie,
because
you're next.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to go to Wilkinson's sword.
Yes.
And the line Blade Masters since 1772. So I've been around on the planet quite a long time, and I've
just before that, wasn't it?
Yeah, brilliantly seen. Yeah, actually just after. And I've seen a lot of Wilson sword ads, and they're all a bit meh. And then this came along, and I was just so I loved them. I thought they were great. There was some I got more than others. I liked the Spy. And a blade. I'll read some of these out because they're so well written. A razor with quite a good blade is like an acrobat with quite a good grip. So it's just going, well, imagine because I feel like I need to say this because there were some people at LinkedIn who go,
oh yeah, no,
do it. And
very fun.
I don't
read,
and I don't have the energy to write it because I can say it, but it's like work it out, mate.
You just don't want to get involved in these debates.
But it's like you said when we asked you at the beginning what you've been up to and how it is at Pablo. You're saying it's great to be working on fun projects with some fun clients and injecting the fun into advertising. So we can see it's
how did you inject fun into Wilson's sword?
I mean, a brilliant client. It was a really, the team's quite small. And again, it's a really simple brief. We just want to do something really disruptive in the category. And we've got something really clear to say that we've got the best blades. We've got the sharpest, best blades. And that's it. How do we say that in just really fun, kind of entertaining way? But, with a serious point behind it, it's got, like all fun things, there's still a proper strategy behind it.
Yeah.
And the films are really funny, really, have great fun working on those. And the poster started off going, I think we only had budget for like one.
Right.
And we just worked, and the client had, really worked with us to go, how do we just pull in... How do we work it out so we can just get loads of these out and just get a really big media plan and really hone in on posters?
Yeah.
And because we've got a really fun tone of voice going.
Yes.
And how do we just get it out there?
I think, honestly, we talked about this recently. I wrote something for one of the magazines around delivering emotion through advertising, especially out of home. Humor is the hardest one to do get right.
Well, yeah, and if you get it right, like Hugh said, you're going to divide opinion.
Yeah,
and because if it's meh, everyone's going to it's kind of funny, whatever. Anything. It's like the debate I always having with my sister, what's better, Little Britain or The Office? I'm like, how can you think Little Britain's better than The Office? But you've got to respect, it's comedy. Everyone's got a really strong opinion.
It's the same with music. It's the same with an art gallery. You go and stand next to a painting, people walk past it. I'm like, why are you walking past it? This is the best thing in here.
Yeah.
This is the...
But I love it. I love dividing... If you're doing your job right, you're dividing opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
But how did you, prior to dividing LinkedIn... can I say, just on LinkedIn the other day, there was a debate ongoing between Vicky Ross and Ben Kay about comma.
Oh, okay.
And
how many comments did it go on for?
Oh, it was brilliant because I was thinking, this will die within 5.
Was there a read more button? Because when Ben Kay's involved, there's definitely how many comments are you going to make, Ben?
So then I got into. There was a thing in The Guardian, so I'm going right off piece now, sorry, but there's a cartoon at the back by Stephen Collins, who is very, very witty. And it was, there were 3 characters in this little cartoon. Dan's looking at his watch. A question mark, an exclamation mark, and a comma. And it was like, oh my God, there's something in the fucking ether. Did
you take a photo of that and comment back with just the image?
No, I took a photo of it and I'm going to send it to Ben. But my point is, people love to fucking debate stuff and wang on and think they're right or wrong. But what I wanted to do on this was, how did you get to convince Wilkinson Sword to even do this work? Because they they're not associated with this sort of work, are they? Have they changed?
We didn't take that much convincing.
Really?
Like I said, they're a great team. Sophie, our main client, was almost like another kind of Pablo team member on the shoot.
Oh, wow.
And they just got really on side. And we work, like all good work, you work together as, it's not an us and them thing. You're working together and the things we had to nut out. But really, we just, you get them, you get them on side early and we're all clear what we're trying to do. And then that was said about Flora, it starts flowing out. Doesn't it? And you're like, how do we beat that? How do we make that funny?
Yeah, keep riffing on the same.
Funny enough.
Yeah.
Like, how do we do it?
Yeah, I love the slipping onto another billboard as well. Funny. So look, great stuff. Any more questions on that? Just go on LinkedIn and tap up Dan Watts about.
I mean,
and tag Ben Kay and Vicky Ross, and they can also get involved.
No, anyway, we're going to end with a little one.
Yeah.
Gymbox racist poster. We were sent this on our socials the other day by someone, so we reposted it. It was pretty cool. Have you got it, or is it a brief breach?
Gymbox. Rory McKentry, who's the marketing dude at Gymbox, he just got in touch saying, I really like, funny enough, you Wilson Source stuff. Would you like to do some work with us?
There you go.
Because they're just always on and really and great. He's amazing, and he we've got some more stuff coming out, and with them. We just did a load of posters and some things like that. And this was we bought out early because it was, I think, World Exercise Day.
So what happens in the poster here, Dan? Just explain it.
So the idea is you have two billboards next to each other. We've got those two spaces, and we just made them all black. We had start strip at the beginning of the first one. We had a finish strip at the end of the other one, and that was it. And we encouraged through social media, because they've got a big following, Gymbox, people to come down on that day and race it for the chance to win, certain things and get money off for Gymbox. And people got really involved, and it was, I was kind of in two minds, like with any, it's really nice and fun, but it kind of really blew up. I was quite surprised. I shouldn't say I'm surprised by it, but it's like.
But was there a seeding? A kind of social seeding campaign behind it as well. Was there a kind of let's get this online?
People were then reposting it and then reposting doing it.
Because they've got a massive following on social
they've got
anyway,
a really big following. And it's like we were saying earlier, if you do billboards in the right way, they will
come,
get posted, and they'll get used, and people started doing their own versions of it.
And that's what's talking about interactivity, immersing people in the idea. If you get them involved, they'll share.
Your Jaffa Cakes example that Andy did, it's like getting people involved. Yeah, no matter what the media is, and it became a 1 minute brief, and people did hundreds of different versions of it. And
I really like it. It sort of makes you think a bit about. We talk about it sometimes about using posters in such a geo-specific manner, and whether you could, I don't know, create a 10K, which you have to go past certain posters.
Yeah,
they are.
Yeah, like an orienteering type. Yeah. Nike did something similar, didn't they, with some of their Run London stuff? Yeah,
and it's just it's an active thing, isn't it? You're out there, so you need to sort of be with the poster somehow. It's not on a phone, is it?
It's just rethinking what you do with the media, and we were always doing that. It doesn't matter what the media is, what's the PR headline? Even if it's a TV ad, what's the PR headline for it? If it's a poster, what's the PR headline for that?
Yeah, what's the glue? What's going to get talked about?
Exactly. What's going to get talked about?
I can give a huge shout out to Neil Morris here, who co-founded Grand Visual with me, when we're trying to push interactivity in out-of-home advertising. We came up with this line that I think he adapted from somewhere else, but it was attention is important. That's outdoor, right? But involvement is critical, and that's interactive outdoor. That's where if you get that attention, great. But if you get people involved, it will go. And in the social world that we live in, that stuff works. When you've got a client who's heavily active on social, they'll get their audience behind it, and they'll get posted. And your poster can be super powerful.
It doesn't cost any money.
Yeah,
great line.
Some money, but it's
but in comparison to taking a nationwide campaign and attacking the same audience number,
we need to get that guy Neil on. It sounds interesting.
That guy Neil, we should get him on.
Right, we're gonna.
Is this because I tried to replace you last week with Jexy?
So we're gonna go to your favourite poster, and of course you couldn't choose one. We got three, which is
the reason I picked a few was
you picked this one because you're sucking up to Hugh because he's
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I assume like other people have picked this, but what I thought was interesting about this was I'm not into. I'm one of the very few men that's not into football, like a tour.
We're just looking at the Eric Cantona Nike poster.
Sorry, 66 was a great year for English football. Eric was born. But this is one of the best ideas I remember seeing it. I think it's at Watford, and I think it was one of Tony's favourite. He had it on the wall. Just remember going, that's such a smart bit of thinking. It's so cool.
Yeah.
And don't want to keep talking about Fallon, but I remember when Juan had just done Sony Balls.
Yeah.
And he said, I just wanted to make an ad that would entertain people that couldn't afford the TVs. I thought that's such a cool thing. That's such a cool thing way of thinking about what we do. And I thought this was very similar. I'm like, that's people that are into football are going to love that.
Yeah.
People that aren't into football are going to love that because it's so smart. It's such a
just want to quickly say something about Fallon, and we can talk about Fallon all day. So this is a legacy thing about Fallon and Sony. My daughter sends me paint, Fallon, the paint ad.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, she goes, Dad, this is cool. And then I go, right, have you seen this one? I sent her Sony balls.
Yeah.
She went, oh my God, Dad. And I'm going, that's what we're all trying to do.
Yeah.
Make it as good as that. But that is...
That's iconic. It's
amazing to get it back from someone who wasn't even born when it happened. Anyway, sorry,
No, it's such a good thing.
So ads they teach in history books. That's what everyone's aiming for, right?
So then here we have a curious one. PlayStation.
Yeah. So this the reason I put this came out when I think my first year in advertising, and I remember seeing it. There's loads of brilliant, again, probably not the best PlayStation posters, so many of them, but I've seen lots of people have picked things I might have picked. This is just a really good example of like, how do you reduce when you're doing a poster? Reduce as much as you can. If you can get to something like that.
So what is it?
It's just a shot of a quite rank-looking mouse in a petri dish with a thumb growing out of its back, and nothing else but a PlayStation logo. And so it's kind of the holy grail in any poster, isn't it? How can you get to hardly anything and say everything?
Yeah.
And you go, well, around the time they were growing ears, I don't remember, starting to grow ears on mice and genetically advanced things. So it was just really apt at the time. In the future, we're going to need extra thumbs because everyone's playing PlayStation. It was just really cool and a bit weird, and just you really notice it. You drive past that and go, what?
Yeah, because it's quite well put together. It looks real.
Yeah,
which is the sort of disturbing.
It's
thing,
really disgusting.
And then slightly different, but back to I think actually it was BNP when they did this.
Yeah,
it wasn't Fallon. So we're looking at a campaign for voting. Use your vote. He'll use his. So these are some really controversial imagery. I remember seeing at the time, but kind of like you, a bit blown away. It was should we describe these?
Yeah, there's quite a few of them. I'll just pick these two. There's a Praise God for AIDS protest, like an anti-gay march, and there was just a really horrible fox hunter with a dead fox, and there's quite a few more from Nazis onwards. But really simple. Use your vote. You'll use his is such a good bit of writing and thought. And we just again, they're 23 years old now, but I was looking at a post the other day about trying to get people to vote and young people and how you do it, and it was all a bit complicated, and I just always go back to that. It works. I remember seeing it going, that's really affected me. That's really made me think. Yeah, it's really obvious, but it's done in such a great.
For me, it had the sort of holy grail of it is obviously a brilliant advertising poster which will win awards and get people pay rises and that tick. But then it's also in the very real world, a bit like Blackcurrant Tango was. It's affecting, and if people see that, you're just going.
It's a great piece of propaganda to go.
It's amazing.
Be careful.
Exactly.
How we could have done with that.
I mean, scarily, this is happening. In America still. Now,
things are not haven't changed. And I guess at the time, it was really surprising to see it from the Ministry of Sound. Like it talking to young people through that medium was really original. Then it wasn't like another political type.
Yeah.
It was using a really, really cool brand at the time that kind of you wouldn't kind of put near politics and voting and things. And it was just brilliant.
Yeah, it's great. Well, look, thank you so much for coming on. It's like a whirlwind of great work, both from yourself and.
No, thanks for having me on. It's been great talking about these last.
Yeah. Well, look, thank you so much, and good luck with everything at Pablo. I imagine you've got to rush back on your bike and.
Just up the road.
With another pitch. All right, mate.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well, that was good, wasn't it?
That was really good.
Yeah. He didn't disappoint, did he?
He didn't disappoint.
Launching his own record label. You know, the Richard Flintham stories is just brilliant.
That record label thing is just like, wow. We need to make a poster. No, we don't. We need to make a record label.
We need to go ring and leverage and make a pop promo in Ghana.
Yeah.
And because when we had Jexy in,
I kind of love the randomness of our industry sometimes. When you get into, you go into work one day and you go, right, we're going to make a poster, and then you go, no, we're not. We're going to Ghana. We're going to shoot this. We're going to do that.
We're going to go beyond that billboard.
Yeah.
We're going to do something completely different. But no, it's lovely hearing it. And he's worked at so many interesting places, like, you know, Pablo for Creative, like we say, Fallon. He's got a really interesting history, and he didn't even talk about Amsterdam. He started off there, so you know, really a great guest. Thank you, Dan, for coming along.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Well, we've got some more stuff coming up as well. We've got Mary Weir next week, which should be quite fun.
That'd be good. So she's a legend. She's an
absolute legend. We've been talking about her work for so long. With other people.
Yeah, with Pete Suter. So we need to say thank you, don't we, to our sponsors?
Yep, to Talon and Grand Visual. To them, big up. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Continuing to sponsor us.
And
Soho Radio. Friends here at Soho Radio. Yeah. Awesome people. Adrian and Rachel, thank you.
On we go. Next episode.
Follow us on social.